BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by...
I want to retire knowing we did it right. We want
to know that it's been worth something.
It's worth everything.
Be intentional about your worth. Farmers National Bank Wealth Management.
Well, the biggest finding we had in our audit that we released this morning was the fact that Youngstown needs to do the adjustment to its accounts to properly recognize the receipt of millions of dollars in improper adjustments from the water, sewer, and environmental funds. Those monies, statutorily, we do not believe should have been utilized for those purposes, and it is appropriate for them to do the adjustment. We've been negotiating with them since I became auditor in January. We offered them a 10 or 15-year restructuring, so they actually put a payment structure on their books and records. But remember, this is the ratepayers who paid these sums and that they were misappropriated and misused from. And so the ratepayers expect to be paid back. They expect to be paid back on a timely basis. And so when we looked at the repayment structure, we are confident that the repayment plans that we offered do not move the city into fiscal emergency this alone. And from that perspective, we think it's reasonable. Looking back at the opinions that they've gotten, I'm not going to go in and question whether their legal opinion was accurate or whether or not they actually relied on an accurate legal opinion. They had some concerns, or should have had concerns, that this was an improper distribution of the monies. It really wasn't a very close case in our assessment, and for that reason we think it's appropriate that they do the adjustments.
What's the next step?
Well, from our perspective, it's finishing the 18 audit. Our 18 audit we anticipate will be finished sometime before the end of this calendar year, early next calendar year. We'll do the next finding for adjustment if there is one. We anticipate there will be one. And with that, we ask that Youngstown come forward with a plan not less than the terms that we've set forth, and start to recognize their obligations to make their books and records proper. If they fail to do that, then we'll have to look at our other options. Frankly, we're not sure rates need to go up. If you look at this, we think that the current finding for adjustments less than 0.6% of their total operating budget. We think that, look, they have to make big, tough decisions. We have to make tough decisions in our everyday life. Bob and Betty Buckeye have to make tough decisions when they sit at the kitchen table and balance their checkbooks. Those are decisions that the mayor and city council were elected to make. We think that operating on 99.4% of your operating budget is something that any reasonable municipality should be able to accommodate.
What would other options be?
Well, for us, other options, if they fail to take any action or appropriate action, first would be having us refer this to the Attorney General for enforcement. And frankly, we still have some other tools in our quiver. We don't think it needs to come to that. We would really encourage the city to step up to the plate and meet their financial obligations without having to have extra legal expenses and extra furtherance of this. This is not something new. If you go back and look at the news stories in this community going back well before I got elected state auditor, you see the recognition of this problem. And it's time for Youngstown to step up to the plate and have a plan. We're willing to work with them. We want to execute this in a fair way.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by...
I want to retire knowing we did it right. We want
to know that it's been worth something.
It's worth everything.
Be intentional about your worth. Farmers National Bank Wealth Management.